Welcome to Joy Unfiltered. This is Rachel, your host, and this is the space where we talk about real life, real growth, and real joy, not as a reward, but as a strategy. Because joy isn't something we stumble into once everything is perfect. Joy is something we choose on purpose, especially when life is full, messy, demanding, and beautifully human. Here, we explore the science of joy, the mindset of joy, the daily practices that make joy sustainable, not surface level, but cellular. We talk about the brain, the nervous system. We talk about leadership, relationships, energy, identity, and how choosing joy consistently rewires the way we live, lead, and love. This podcast isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about building the internal strength to respond instead of react, to move with intention, to live from alignment instead of autopilot. Because when you understand how your brain works, when you train your nervous system towards safety and possibility, when you choose joy deliberately, everything shifts. Joy is not naive. Joy is powerful. Joy is strategic. And around here, joy is the way forward. So, let's get started. Today we are talking about something that sounds dramatic, but is actually wildly practical. We're going to talk about brainwashing yourself in only the best way possible. Because here's the truth. You are already brainwashing yourself every single morning. The only question is, with what? Stress, comparison, scarcity, old identity stories, or joy, strength, leadership, intentional living. And before you roll your eyes and think this is going to be some fluffy affirmative talk, let me anchor us in science. Your brain, in the first 5 to 20 minutes after waking, is in a theta brainwave state. Theta is associated with deep meditation, creativity, and heightened suggestibility. It's when the subconscious mind is more accessible. This is not motivational theory. This is neuroscience. During this window, this theta window, the RAS, the Reticular Activating System, which filters what your brain pays attention to, is primed. So whatever you emotionally emphasize during this time becomes the lens your brain uses for the rest of the day. Translation: morning thoughts are not neutral. They are programming. Most people wake up and immediately install chaos. Email, news, Instagram, their to-do list, the scale, their calendar. And then they wonder why their nervous system feels like it's in a group text with cortisol. But what if you used that morning window, strategically? What if, instead of letting your brain default to survival mode, you trained it towards joy? Not fake joy, not denial, but grounded, regulated, resilient joy. Because joy, neurologically speaking, is not a personality trait. It is a trained state. And today I'm going to give you 5 phrases, 5 anchors, 5 neurological installation points. And we're going to unpack the science behind each one. This episode is going to be part mindset, part nervous system education, And you've got it, part loving pep talk. So, are you ready? Do you have your pencils out? The first phrase that I want you to say to yourself when you wake up in the morning is, "Today I lead myself." Today I lead myself. Again, today I lead myself. Say it slowly. Today I lead myself. Before your phone tells you who to be, before your inbox makes demands, before someone else's mood influences yours, you lead. Why does this matter? Because when you consciously declare agency, you activate your prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for executive function, decision-making, impulse control, and emotional regulation. When you wake up stressed and reactive, your amygdala takes the wheel. That's your threat detection center. Emergency, emergency. But when you wake up intentional, your prefrontal cortex steps forward. And here's the magic. The more you consciously choose agency, the stronger those neural pathways become. Neuroplasticity tells us that neurons that fire together wire together. Agency is muscle. So when you say, "Today I lead myself," you are shifting from victim energy to creator energy. And this matters especially for those of you who are high-achieving leaders. Because many of us are leaders everywhere else but reactive in our own bodies. We lead teams. We lead families. We lead projects. But when it comes to our health, our mood, our joy, we default to autopilot. So the first reprogramming phrase isn't about hustle. It's about sovereignty. Today I lead myself. And you don't need to lead perfectly. You just need to lead intentionally. Okay, you've got that one down? Are you ready for phrase 2? Phrase 2. Joy is available to me today. Joy is available to me today. Not when you lose weight. Not when the relationship improves. Not when the book launches. I had to tell myself that a bunch. Not when the bank account grows. Today. This is where I want to bring in some research from Dr. Barbara Fredrickson's Broaden-and-Build theory. Fredrickson's research shows that positive emotions broaden our awareness and expand our behavioral repertoire. Okay, in simple terms, joy literally makes you more creative, more flexible, and more resilient. When you experience positive emotion, your visual field expands. Your cognitive flexibility increases. Your ability to problem solve improves. Joy, yes, I said it, joy makes your brain smarter. For those of you in the back that didn't hear that, joy makes your brain smarter. Joy also increases vagal tone, which improves emotional regulation and heart rate variability. High heart rate variability is associated with better stress adaptation and longevity. So, when you say, "Joy is available to me today," you're not manifesting glitter. You are directing your attentional system. The RAS, remember? It filters 11 million bits of information per second down to conscious bits, the ones that we can actually filter, or the ones that actually we can understand. Your brain will find what you train it to notice. If you wake up saying, "This day is going to be so hard," your brain goes hunting for proof. If you wake up saying, "Joy is available," your brain scans for moments of connection, beauty, gratitude, humor. It doesn't eliminate difficulty. It doesn't erase all the bad things. It doesn't erase the fact that my car got stolen this weekend. But what it does do is it balances perception. Joy is not denial. Joy is directional awareness. All right. Are you ready for phrase 3? Phrase 3. I move my body because I love it. Again, let me repeat. I move my body because I love it. We are flipping decades of conditioning here. Not, I move to shrink. Not, I move to punish. Not, I move to compensate. I move because I love my body. I move because I'm alive. Exercise. Exercise increases dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. That is just basic science. But wait, there's more. Regular movement increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. BDNF supports neuron growth and synaptic plasticity. Let me say that again. BDNF supports neuron growth and synaptic plasticity. In other words, movement helps your brain grow. Movement helps your brain grow. It also reduces systematic inflammation, which is linked to depression and cognitive decline. And here's what I want you to hear. When movement is driven by shame, it reinforces threat-based motivation. But when movement is driven by appreciation, it reinforces safety-based motivation. Your nervous system responds differently. If you say, I have to work out because I'm behind, your body releases stress hormones. But if you say, I get to move because I have legs and lungs and a beating heart, your body releases empowerment chemistry. Push-ups are not punishment. They are participation. Movement becomes a celebration of capacity, and that rewires identity. All right. Are we ready for phrase 4? Are we ready? I choose progress over perfection. I choose progress over perfection. Perfection activates fear circuitry. The fear of failure lights up the amygdala and increases cortisol. Chronic cortisol dysregulation affects sleep, metabolism, and mood. Perfectionism isn't high standards. It is threat sensitivity. When you tell your brain, I choose progress, you reduce performance anxiety and activate a growth mindset. Dr. Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset shows us that when individuals focus on learning and improvement, rather than proving worth, they persist longer and experience less stress. And who doesn't want a little less stress? Progress creates dopamine spikes. Tiny wins matter. One plant-forward meal, one 5-minute pause, one short walk, one small, consistent action. Because small, consistent actions create identity shifts. And identity shifts create lasting change. Perfection demands intensity. Progress demands consistency. And consistency is how joy becomes sustainable. And are you ready now for phrase 5? Phrase 5. Joy is my strategy. Joy is my strategy. Joy is my strategy. This is the foundation. Joy not as a reward. Joy as the operating system. Research shows that positive emotional states influence immune response, inflammation markers, and even recovery speed. Joy reduces perceived stress, Reduced stress lowers systematic inflammation, and lowering inflammation improves mood and energy. Joy's not decorative. It's not this fancy thing over on the side. It is biological leverage. When joy becomes your strategy, you respond differently in conflict. You regulate faster. You recover quicker. You make better and more clear decisions. Joy strengthens resilience circuits in the brain. It does not make you naive. Joy makes you adaptive. All right, so you have those 5 phrases. Now let's talk about implementation, because this is not about listening to a podcast and just feeling inspired. It is about practice. So here's your morning wake-up ritual. Wake up. Do not grab your phone. Sit upright, feet on the floor. Take 1 slow breath in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Place your hand on your heart and say the 5 phrases slowly. Today, I lead myself. Joy is available to me today. I move my body because I love it. I choose progress over perfection. Joy is my strategy. And all that takes less than 2 minutes. But here's the key: repetition. Neural pathways strengthen through repetition and emotional intensity. The more you say it, the more automatic it becomes. And eventually, it won't feel like words. It will feel like truth. And that is how identity changes. Not through massive overhauls, through daily reinstallation. You don't need a new life. You need a new language. You don't need to wait for circumstances to improve. You need to train your perception. And perception shapes behavior. And behavior shapes results. And results reinforce identity. And identity shapes destiny. Joy is not the reward at the end. Joy is the strategy that gets you there. So tomorrow morning, before the world installs noise, install intention. Rewire gently. Rewire consistently. Rewire toward joy. Because when one person chooses joy, it changes your day. But when a community chooses joy, so if we all do it together, when a community chooses joy, it changes culture. Don't you want that? Don't we want a more joyful culture? I know I do. So joy is a strategy. Use it. And remember, Rachel from Joy Unfiltered, I am celebrating you today and every day. So have fun, live well, enjoy.